We have the founder of Softlink.AI, Daniel Foley, talking to us about the future of SMEs and how to maximize the opportunities that they have. Hi, Daniel. Good morning.
Morning, Ini. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. So let's start from where
Great.
we are. What's or where, from your own perspective, is the development, the state of development of SMEs in Nigeria?
Well, in terms of development in the last 5 years, I would say that, SMEs have developed in terms of, being able to communicate themselves and communicate their brand. And one of the major challenges that SMEs used to have is marketing, but these days they've, improved in that regard. However, one key issue that I think, a lot of SMEs are facing right now is the issue of rising inflation, right? And the issue with that is when inflation, right, is on the high side, people are worse off, right? Which means that if income and if the salaries you pay don't rise at the same pace, right, then these businesses can obviously not pay their employees well, right, and they also lose sales in the process. And that's really, the issue that there is now. But talking about the future for communication and marketing for SMEs is the new buzzword in the tech space that a lot of people do not understand. And that is the metaverse, right? Which is going to change typically everything in business communication.
Yeah, so when you say metaverse, I think the mind of a lot of people will go to the crypto space, the
Yeah,
virtual world, and
yeah.
SMEs are in the real world. So how do you link metaverse in the virtual world to SMEs that operate in the real sector, in the real world?
Okay, interesting. So I like the fact that you're talking about the real world, and the virtual world. But what many people do not understand about the metaverse, right, unto date, is that um, the metaverse is not just the virtual world alone. So it's the combination of the real world and the virtual world, which means that virtual goods can actually, appear in real world. So it's like magic, right? So if you think that the internet and the advent of telecommunications, right, is magic enough, then you need to think again with what is going to happen with the metaverse.
So give me specifics now. I am an
Yeah.
SME operator. I deal
Okay.
in, for instance, palm oil. Right. I go
Cool.
and get my palm kernel, and then I
Yeah.
process it locally, and then I sell it locally. So what concerns me with metaverse?
Fantastic. So if you sell palm oil, right, as a business, every business has to, find a way to do customer support, right? Because of course, you're not in business for yourself alone. You're in business to serve your customers, right? And so one key area that the metaverse is going to transform is customer service, which means that how do you serve your customers? How do you even transact, for instance? Now, another aspect is also marketing, which is how do you advertise your product? Okay. So in the manufacturing of your goods and services, right, you may not necessarily see in the virtual world play a key role there, even though as technology advances, we begin to see a lot of that, right, when it comes to R&D and quality assurance. However, in aspect of customer support, right, for your business, you're going to need to have a virtual space, right, and be able to interact. So imagine, for instance, if you go to a website, right, and you want to purchase something, you have a chat section and you say hello to the customer service, right, and they reply. Good. These conversations now will no longer be in the chat section, neither will they be in the Instagram DMs, right? They're actually going to be a real human being speaking to another human being in the virtual space. So let's say you're selling like 5 liters of palm oil or you're selling 20 liters of palm oil. What this means is that rather than tell the customer via text in a chat that, hey, what I'm giving to you, right, is a 5 liter palm oil, you can actually hold the palm oil, right, the gallon of the palm oil, the customer can collect it from you, feel it, touch it before they actually make a buying decision. So that's really the power that we're going to see here. So the things that you used to see in pictures before, right, that you can only see but you cannot touch nor feel, in the metaverse, right, and in the way it's going to happen, you would actually be able to feel it. So shoes, take for instance, you can actually wear a shoe That's the interaction of now. The shoe is not real; it's virtual, but it's just a perfect replica of what is real, right? And so, if you fit clothes on, because the fashion industry is going to be completely, revolutionized, right? The way it's going to happen, and also the customer support industry. So it's a lot of real things mixing with virtual things. But I mean, in the human life, communication is basic, is foundation. People need to communicate. What is happening now is not a different kind. It's just a different kind of communication, which means taking experience to another level.
Well, Daniel, these pictures that you paint, I'm trying to grasp them, and it seems, I mean, for me as a palm oil producer, a local palm oil producer and seller, it's light years ahead, because at this time, at this level of my operation, I want to automate my production process first. I want to ensure that I have the best high tech to process the palm kernel to my palm oil before I start thinking of all of this. So this is like way ahead of me. Why should I even listen to this conversation?
Okay, now, many people think that this is way ahead and maybe it's going to take 10, 20 years, okay? But let me give you a picture here. Facebook grew to over 1 billion users. Instagram grew to over 1 billion users without the existence of Facebook. So you see what I'm saying? You can have 1 million followers on Instagram today, for instance, because of course there is Instagram. But nobody's really asking the question, how was Instagram able to do it, that they even got 1 billion followers, 1 billion users? It was much difficult then, right? It took them years. And that's why if you notice, platforms like TikTok, right, and Snapchat did not take that much time to actually hit those numbers. Why? Because there was already technology and the platforms had been built. So it happened faster for them. Now, what is going to happen with the metaverse is this. It's going to happen even 200 times faster, right? So it's going to come closer than we think. Why? Because Facebook themselves and Instagram themselves, all they need to do is port all their existing users directly into the metaverse. So all of a sudden, metaverse today, the population is maybe about 2 million to 10 million, depending on what solution. But all of a sudden, within 6 months, you can typically see that number rise to billions, which means that many people will be on this platform sooner than most business owners think, right? Now, what business owners now need to understand is one of the things that bring advantage in business is the knowledge and access to technology. Right? It means that as a palm oil seller that you are, if you have the understanding of this technology and how it's going to work, and you actually have a platform that plugs your e-commerce platform into the metaverse ahead of many of your competitors, this one change can actually put you 20 times ahead, right, than you would have done. So it is important that, you don't just sit back. Imagine those who are, who sat back and said, okay, telecoms, how can I call somebody that is not here and speak to them live, right? Or these days that we're doing live streaming from Lagos to London, those who sat behind more, scorning those innovation, they lost out. Okay. And so if a business owner, especially African businesses, don't want to lose out, what we must do is to jump on this technology very quickly, learn about it very quickly, because the way the world is, the faster you learn, the faster you can earn. Okay, and the faster you can grow. And so it's important that we open our minds up and know that these things will happen for real, right? The tools, the technology, the platform is already there. The people are already there, right? So this is not just some imaginative technology. No, the devices have been built. Okay, and so it's going to happen very quickly, and those who get ahead and those who jump on it, right, are those who are actually going to, be ahead. And really, that's what we are trying to do, at Softlink as a technology company, to help people build websites that can actually exist on the metaverse.
All right, Daniel, I'm convinced now. My palm oil business should be on Metaverse, but I mean, I'm still struggling with funding, especially, I mean, you talked about the issue of inflation, which is the reality, global reality at this time. A cost of operation is already high up there, and my salaries are there to be paid. Operations and diesel, is there. So how or where do I get the funding from? Why should I prioritize this? Where am I going to get the buffer from, to now put this? Because, I mean, it's going to cost money, obviously.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Ini. And I like the way you described, these problems that SMEs are facing, right? You were completely spot on. Myself, I run a small business. We're about 28 employees in the organization, right? And I will tell you something, Ini. In the last 2 months, I lost about maybe 4 employees, right, who actually dropped in their resignation letter. One, which is a very key member of the team, actually submitted a resignation letter about 3 days ago, and she's going to be exiting the company soon. So now, why? And these issues can be linked definitely to the fact that, all of a sudden, their expenses rose, transportation cost, everything. And they're looking at it that, okay, this pay that used to be this way, right, will it actually carry me through? Okay. And for that, maybe they have to jump ship, right, for these reasons. Okay, and that's what is happening across. You see some business owners now, interviewing employees, and these employees are asking for remote work, right, because they can't afford transportation to actually come to the office. The question is this: can business owners actually double the salaries that they pay their employees the way the inflation have changed? No. Why? Because I don't think that they have experienced that much growth, right? Because the inflation is rising faster than the growth that they're experiencing. Now, we know that from time memorial, right? Access to capital, right? Marketing and access to technology has always been the big problem, right, for SMEs, which means that if I have the right money, right, that is sufficient enough to start the business and get it off the ground, and I have the right money to access the markets, which is to fund my marketing and communications, and I have the right money to invest in the right technology to be able to scale, that business has, 9 out of 10 chances to actually survive. Okay. And so what we are trying to do is typically just looking at, okay, if we can actually improve the way businesses market themselves, right, and improve their access to technology, which is giving them good technology, sophisticated but simple technology, right, to make the right decisions, maybe we can actually fix the access to capital. Because if you have technology and you have access to the market, most small businesses are actually able to develop the product with little or no funding. The problem is, scaling it and selling more of the same product. That's really where the problem is. So if you can fix technology and we can fix marketing, then possibly we may have, in the process, 8 out of 10 times have actually solved the problem of access to capital, right? Which is, typically what we're trying to do: help them build websites, give them the right technology, and then, if they have these tools and they have this marketing, tools to help them make sales, then they probably would be able to survive, much more than other businesses out there. So
Yeah,
in
Daniel.
the end, you still need to make some investment as a business owner.
All right. And you said if we can fix technology and fix marketing, I think another thing that's here in Nigeria we also need to fix is the quality of our products. Because I know you have, the story of when we tried to export yam, and in the process,
Yeah,
we got
yeah.
bashed and all that. And then we've tried to do grains, and then, we do have issues with that, exporting our grains, and which is why at the end of the day, a lot of our products are being exported in raw form, which doesn't give the
Yes.
country enough value. So while we try to work on the marketing, the technology, the packaging, I guess SMEs in Nigeria should also look at the quality of their product, because if you have all of this fanciful packaging and then the product itself does not meet up with international quality demands, so that can also spoil everything that you have invested.
Yes. Now, very good comments there, and that's absolutely true. But how do we solve it? Because, the problem is obvious. Virtually everybody knows what the problem is. What is not clear is how do we solve this problem? And I'll tell you what the solution is your people, your processes, and your R&D. Okay. If we can solve those three things, and this is where government plays a key role, and this is where, the private sector, especially those who are able to fund businesses, also play a key role, right? Business goes beyond just, giving the business owner the money or the tools or everything they need. It also goes into looking into their processes and their systems. And this is where CEOs and entrepreneurs must take responsibility. As an entrepreneur, you must fix your processes, which is how do we even develop these products? How do we create them? What are the ingredients that go into it? Because it's in between your processes that you find quality assurance, okay? And you can't do that right if you also don't invest in research and development. You will find out that most small businesses, right, they were especially, in the agri sector, still do things the way they were done maybe 50, 70 years ago. But new ways to do the same things already exist. There is new technology that simplifies processes that make, let's take, for instance, in the processing of further rice, right? And destoning the further rice. There are better equipment today that can help you destone the further rice. But you still see some of these business owners, right, who use manual labor to destone, and that drastically reduces the quality of this product. So there is no doubt that we need to invest in research and development. This is where I think that government and institutional investors, right, on the African continent need to put in a lot of work and need to be aggressive about it. I'm not just talking about just doing something and call it just for the sake of clout. I'm talking about an ambitious government and an ambitious venture capitalist. Okay, let us solve this problem of R&D, help this business make this understand how this thing should be created, and then the business owner can take responsibility in hiring the best people, because this is also a big issue. If you don't have good people in your organization, you cannot do excellent stuff, right? And so hiring the best people, that also goes back to our education system. Are the people even there? Even if you have the money, can you find the right talent to build the solutions you're looking for?
All
And
right.
honestly, that's one area that a lot of tech companies struggle with on the African continent. So, there's a lot of levels of these problems, but in the end, I think
Yeah,
we'll get there.
obviously a lot that we cannot capture in one conversation. Daniel Foley, thank you
Yes.
so much for this interesting conversation. And we do hope that SMEs will prioritize, some of the things you have noted and the stages required to develop their businesses, because the country needs it. I mean, their contribution to the GDP is also major. Thank you so much, Daniel Foley, founder Softlink.AI. Thank you for your views this morning.
Thank you very much, Shani. My pleasure.